Welcome everyone to the academics information session for the spring semester. Now, my name is Pedro de Araujo. I'm Vice Provost at Colorado College. And today what we're going to do is we're going to summarize the decisions that the college made related to the spring semester, the academic calendar. We'll touch on, course formats. We'll touch on other student support services on campus. So what we're going to do today is I'll introduce the topic and try to answer some of the questions that have been asked already related to the spring semester. And then after I'm done, I will kind of pass the baton to some of my colleagues that will provide information about their offices and how their offices are not only supporting students for the spring semester, but also, answering some specific questions that their office have been getting, since the announcement. So I'll get started. As we all know, the college has made the decision to change the spring semester calendar and not have a spring break. And so what that means is that starting in Block J, January 4th, what the college is going to do now is have 5 consecutive 3.5-week blocks, right? So Block J starts on January 4th. Instead of having 3 weeks, we'll have 3.5 weeks now. So it's going to be a regular block, followed by a block break. And after that, Block 5 now starts February 1st, and then has 3.5 weeks, followed by a block break, and we go all the way to Block 8 in this particular way. What this means for the calendar is that there's a change in the dates for Blocks J, 5, and 6. There's no spring break. There's a block break now between 6 and 7. And then Blocks 7 and 8 are exactly the same dates as they were before. So that was the first announcement that the college made in terms of the spring break. And there were questions about that, and I just wanted to clarify. In terms of the decision to have students back on campus, I like to provide some information first before I get to the decision. And the information is, in the fall, this semester, the college has been serving students that have been living either on campus or CC approved housing or off campus, and that number is about 1,400 students currently. So given that information, what we wanted to do was try to figure out how is it that we could serve either that same number or perhaps even a little bit more, by moving into the spring semester. And the decision there was to prioritize a couple groups. One was seniors that have housing assignments, right? So those are invited back to campus. 2, every student that's currently living on campus or on CC-approved housing, right, they are welcome to stay, right? So those are 2 major groups. The third group are the first-year students that unfortunately were asked to leave campus by Block 1. Those students are welcome back starting J Block. On top of that, we wanted to give opportunities for students that have never been on campus to be able to have an experience on campus. And those groups are the first-year students and new transfer students who chose to take the fall semester completely remote, new winter start students, and the NCAA student athletes that are not living on campus or in Colorado Springs. And then our international students, all international students, but starting in Block 5, right? So those were the categories of students that were welcome back to live on CC-approved housing. And I want to be very specific about that because there's a distinction between the spring semester relative to the fall in terms of students that decide to live off campus but in Colorado Springs. So this fall, this category of the students that were living off campus in Colorado Springs ended up having access to campus, but to the gym or to the library, but they were not permitted necessarily to take in-person classes or classes with in-person components. The difference now is that students that find their way and are able to actually come and live off campus, even if in non-CC approved housing, as long as those students are part of our testing protocol, those students will also have access to courses that are in-person or that have in-person elements. So what that means is that if you are not in one of these groups that were approved to come to CC and CC approved housing, if you can live off campus, right, in Colorado Springs and participate in our testing protocol, you effectively will have the same access to campus as students that are living on CC-approved housing. So that's a big difference, and there was a couple questions about that to make that distinction. So really, the only students who would not have access to campus would be the students that are not living in Colorado Springs and part of our testing pool. So if you decide to stay home, whichever your home state or your home country is, you wouldn't be able to have access to campus, and therefore you would need to select classes that would allow you to take classes from home. So those were the main decisions in terms of the spring semester. There was one question, or actually a few questions about students, first-year students that were invited to come back in the spring semester, if they're mandated, right, to be here, right, or could they stay home? And the answer is no, you can stay home. No one's mandated to be living on campus, right? What we're saying is we're extending an invitation for you to be able to live on campus. But if you prefer, right, to stay home and take classes remotely, you're welcome to do that as well. Moving on to course formats. So the college asked professors and departments to put a course grid together for the spring semester and tell us, right, which format they would be teaching these courses on. So before I get there, I just want to remind people of the formats that we have, those definitions, so that everybody kind of is on the same page here, right? So there are 4 different formats in which courses can be offered. One is in person, right? So that is, the course is almost equivalent to how we would be teaching courses pre-COVID, right? Of course, the classroom assignments, there's some classroom limitations, right, in terms of how many students you can have per class, right? You have to be socially distanced, you're wearing a mask, right? So it's not exactly that same in-person experience as what we had pre-COVID, but that modality means that you're going to be in a classroom setting, having live conversations with other students and your faculty members. So that's the in-person category. On the other side, you have the remote category, and that is, the entire block is going to be delivered remotely, right? So what that means is you don't have to be living on campus or off campus. You could be taking this course pretty much from anywhere in the world, and you should be able to complete the course in that way. So you have an in-person class, right, that requires you to be in residence or off campus, right? And then you have remote classes, which you could be taken anywhere. The confusion is our courses and the modalities in between the in-person and the remote classes, right? So we have 2 types of courses, and I'll try to explain the distinction between the 2. One is a hybrid format. So the hybrid format is a format in which students are going to be taking throughout the block. There are going to be in-person elements to the course, and there are going to be also remote elements to the course. The distinction here is that a hybrid course requires students to take the in-person elements of the course, what that means is that for a hybrid course, you must be either living on campus or living off campus and be part of our testing pool so that you have access to campus, right? The other format, it's in between remote and in-person, is the flex format. The flex format also has elements that are in person and elements that are remote. The difference, though, is that the in-person elements in a flex course can also be done remotely. So what does that mean is that you don't have to be living on campus or off campus with access to campus to take a flex course, right? So what that means is if you are, for example, living in a different country, you may enroll in a flex course. So the bottom line here is this: if you are living on campus or off campus with access to campus, you may take all 4 formats, right? You can register for any of the 4 formats. If you are living off campus or out of state and you don't have access to campus, the only 2 formats that you are allowed to register for would be the flex format and the remote format. So those are the two that you would be looking for, right, if you can't make your way back to campus. There were some questions about numbers and some questions about, is the college going to be offering, how many courses is the college going to be offering in each one of these formats? And I have these numbers here for you right now. So out of the about 650 total courses that the college is going to be offering in the spring, what we have is that about a little over 2/3 of the courses will have an in-person component to it. And the breakdown is that about 36% of those courses are going to be flex, 20% hybrid, and 13% in-person. The other third courses, so we have the other remaining courses, which is about 32% of courses, are going to be completely remote. Now, there's a variation of courses by block. And what we're seeing is, which is expected, which is the number of in-person classes that are going to be offered as a percentage of the total increases from blocks 5 through block 8. So for example, in block 5, only 4% of courses are going to be in person. And when it gets to block 8, then 22% of courses are going to be offered in person. The flip side of that are the remote classes. In block 5, 40% of the courses are going to be offered remotely, but only 18% of the courses are offered remotely in block 8, right? So there's going to be that difference, between remote and as we get closer to the summer. In terms of flex courses and hybrid courses, the proportion is pretty much the same. For hybrid courses, it stays at around 20% every single block. And for flex courses, it stays around 33, 34% throughout the entire semester, right? So that's kind of the breakdown of courses, right, in terms of formats. And this was a question that was asked. Finally, there were a couple of questions about what about our plan B or our plan C? What happens, for example, if by the middle of the semester we have to, either send students back home, depending on where the pandemic is happening, or we have to isolate, right, a great number of students, right? What would happen to courses that have in-person elements to it? So the plan B, right, would be for all of these courses, right, that are being taught in person, right, to convert to remote. So in person would convert to remote. Flex courses would also convert to remote. Hybrid courses would convert to remote. So we would have all courses being offered under that format. Now we understand that plan may not work for every single class, right? There's a reason sometimes why classes are offered under hybrid, right, or under in-person. In a situation where a class cannot change format, right, what we would have to do is unfortunately cancel the class. And what we would need to do would be to work with every single student on a couple things. So the plan would be to, one, give those students priority registration for that same course in a consecutive term. So for example, if you're taking course, well, I'm an economist, I'm going to pick an economics. So I'm teaching macroeconomic theory, which is in person, right? So if I'm teaching macroeconomic theory and now I cannot teach that course remotely, students enrolled in my macroeconomic theory in the spring, right, would be given priority registration for macroeconomic theory next fall, right? If that doesn't work, we were going to work with students on a case-by-case basis to make sure, right, that students are not losing progression towards a degree. That is, that a cancellation of a course doesn't prevent a student from being able to graduate, right, within 4 years, right? So that we may have to actually have a conversation with departments and professors and students on an individual basis. But if that's happening, that is our plan C. I think this covers most of the questions related to the broad plan. And what I'll do now is I'll pass this to Teresa Leopold in the Advising Hub.
I'm Teresa Leopold. I'm the Director of Student Support in the Student Opportunities and Advising Hub. We call it the Hub. The Hub is 1.5 years old, and it was created to allow or to bring extra support for students on campus. Every incoming student now will have a faculty and a staff advisor. We work in collaboration to support students and help them get the most out of their college, their CC career. The staff advisors and the Student Opportunity and Advising Hub offer holistic advising. We talk with students about their academic goals, their personal goals, and their career or professional goals. And we meet with them to talk about pre-registration, to talk about other things throughout the semester. So we are there to support students, not only the students that have someone specifically designated to be their staff advisor, but all students across campus. We reach out to students and talk with them about pre-registration. And in case those of you don't know, pre-registration just started on Monday and will end on November 13th. So every student needs to reach out to their faculty advisor to talk with them about their courses in the upcoming semester. That we encourage them to reach out to a staff advisor as well, but they must reach out to their faculty advisor in order to get their passcode, which is required for registration. We try to help students advocate for themselves. And at the same time, we try to be proactive in trying to find students who might be struggling or who might need additional support. We talk with students who are thinking about maybe dropping a block or taking some time away from the college. And so those are just some of the things that we talk about in the Student Opportunities and Advising Hub with students. We also have a pre-health manager in the hub who works with the staff to understand how to best support students who are interested in either majoring in a pre-health major or going into pre-health after they graduate. We have a student opportunities specialist who works with students who are interested in applying for national fellowships, applying for venture grants, and also trying to work with faculty members to do research, which typically happens over the summer. I think I will hand it off to Traci.
Hello, my name is Traci Freeman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Colket Center for Academic Excellence at CC. The Colket Center is the umbrella for academic support services on campus, including tutoring, supplemental instruction, and support courses. The Colket Center includes the Quantitative Reasoning Center, the Ruth Barton Writing Center. We have a Cultural and Linguistic Diversity Education Specialist who works with multilingual students, and a Thesis Writing Specialist who works with students who are completing their thesis and capstone work. We also run the Sophomore Jump program. Together, we are a staff of 10 professionals and more than 90 student tutors. In a typical year, the Colket Center works with more than 80% of the students who are enrolled at CC. Throughout the spring semester, we're going to be working much in the same way that we worked throughout the fall. Students can access our services, all of our services, remotely. Students who are interested in working with any of our professional staff members can reach out to that staff member by email. Students who are interested in working with peer consultants in the Writing Center can make an appointment through WC Online through the Writing Center's website. Students who are interested in working with a QRC tutor should first note whether or not there is a learning assistant attached to their classes. If there is, then the students should reach out to that learning assistant first. Students can also request an individual tutor through the Quantitative Reasoning Center's website. And the QRC is hosting drop-in hours from 4 to 6, Sunday through Thursday. We look forward to working with you in the spring. And now I'm going to pass this along to Alan.
I'm Alan Bertsche. I'm the Director of Global Education here at CC. The Center for Global Education and Field Studies works with domestic and international travel, as well as assisting and supporting our international student population. And it's that group that I want to just say a few things to today. Hopefully, all of our international students received a letter last week from our office outlining how the new spring plans for CC impact international students. And our FAQ page will be updated with a spring semester update. As you may have heard Pedro say at the beginning of this video, all of our international students are welcome to be at CC to take part in any of the coursework in any of the different formats. But we recognize that there are visa issues right now for a lot of students. There are also entry restrictions to the United States for a lot of students. And so many of our international students may be looking at coming for spring, and others may feel that it's not something that they can do right now. But real quickly, I just wanted to say, if you're already in the United States, the key thing to remember is that you are invited to be in Colorado Springs, whether on campus or living off campus, for the spring semester. that your immigration and your F1 status does not allow you to take remote courses from other parts of the United States. Especially if you're in the United States and you're enrolled in courses, you have to be in and around our campus. That may mean you're taking remote courses or flex courses or hybrid, but that you are still physically present in the Colorado Springs area. For those of you who are abroad right now and we're abroad for the fall, you essentially have 4 options that our office can help you with. One is coming to CC for the spring, whether as a new student on January 19th or a continuing student coming for Block 5. You can take flex or remote courses from anywhere in the world. So that's an option if you don't feel that you're going to be able to return. You could decide to take a semester leave, or for those who are new students, a gap semester. You would want to contact the ISSS staff to start that process. Or you could study with one of our study abroad partners, CET, Study Abroad, which has programs in Beijing and Shanghai for students who are Chinese nationals. But also this spring we'll have programs in Florence, Italy, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, for students who can come from any country in the world that is allowed travel into Italy or Brazil. So if you're trying to decide which option is best for you as an international student, contact the ISSS staff at CC. We can help guide you. We can put you in connection with the hub and with others on campus who can help you make the best decision for you based on the viability of coming to Colorado this January. And with that, I will pass on to Aaron.
Hello, I'm Aaron Stoller. I direct the Office of Academic Programs. My office oversees the CC Common Read, the independently designed major, and the first year program. And I'm here today to address some of the questions raised by incoming Winter Start students and families regarding the first year program. All incoming students take their first 2 blocks at CC in the first year program. For Winter Starts, that's blocks 5 and 6. The first course that students take is CC 100, which we call our Critical Inquiry Seminar. And the goal of this class is to help students understand that different disciplines construct and organize knowledge differently, each with its own paradigms and assumptions. The second course is CC 120, which is our first year writing seminar. And the goal of this class is to help students understand that each discipline operates with within specific discourse communities, each with its own structures, styles, and forms. And as a sequence, these courses provide an introduction to disciplinary scholarship, the nature of the liberal arts, and learning on the block. All CC 100 and 120 courses are linked, meaning that students in the same CC 100 course will move in the same cohort into a linked CC 120 course. And these links serve to reinforce some of the social connections that develop in the first block and allow students a little bit more time to learn together. Students in each CC 100 and 120 cohort are also paired with a first year program mentor. These mentors are there to serve as a resource and an advocate for all incoming students. During the first 2 blocks, the mentors support their mentees transition to learning on the block, and they serve as a really important channel of communication between the faculty and the incoming students. But the mentors also work with students throughout the whole rest of the academic year, continuing to build those relationships and helping mentees get connected to campus. Students entering the college as part of the Winter Start cohort will be able to choose from one of 6 CC 100 and 120 linked courses. 4 of these are taught in a flex format, which, as previously mentioned, means that students can take them whether they prefer to take a course remotely and learn at home, or whether they would like to be here in residence at CC. 2 of our courses are hybrid, meaning that they can only be taken by students in residence here at CC because they have required in-person components. All incoming Winter Start students have already received an email about how to register for these courses. But if you have additional questions about the registration process, or you want to know more about specific courses, you can either look at my office's website, the Office of Academic Programs, or you're welcome to reach out directly to either your hub advisor or my office at any time. One note is that since all CC 100 and 120 courses meet the same learning goals and they all count for the exact same general education requirements, we encourage students to use the first year program as a real opportunity to explore your interests as you come to CC. I'd now like to pass it off to Jan Edwards.
Hi, I'm Jan Edwards, Director of the Accessibility Resources Office. Accessibility Resources support students with disabilities, including but not limited to those with learning disabilities, ADHD, mental health concerns, chronic health conditions, sensory disabilities related to vision and hearing, and physical disabilities. We provide accommodations to ensure access for all formats of classes, including extended time for exams, accessible formats of text, and note-taking support, to name just a few. We provide and teach students how to use a variety of assistive technologies, those that are appropriate for their individual needs. For example, we're using computer-generated captioning to enhance access to online classes for students who are hard of hearing. And we provide text-to-speech software to students who use audio formats of text. This software can also be pretty helpful for online readings. Additionally, we can be helpful to students who are registered with our office by working individually on effective learning strategies. This includes such things as managing online classes, reading and note-taking skills, tips for managing test-taking anxiety, and organization and time management. We also offer workshops on these topics. I want to add that our faculty are amazingly helpful. So we've been able to provide accommodations and other support quite seamlessly, again, regardless of the course format. The most important piece of advice that I can offer is to recommend that students who plan to request support from accessibility resources contact our office as soon as possible if they haven't already done so. This way our staff can make sure that accommodations and services are in place and ready to go when needed. Our contact information is on the Accessibility Resources website, and a link to our website can be found on the lower right corner of the Colorado College homepage. Just click on Accessibility. We truly value an interactive process, so please don't hesitate to reach out to our staff at any time if you have questions or need assistance. We're truly happy to help. Really appreciate that you've joined this town hall. If you have any questions, please send those to the CC COVID address. Thanks so much.